Welcome back to another video where today I'm going to be talking about the LG C2, the PS5, and a little game called God of War Ragnarok because of something that I noticed here recently. Now I know this game's been out for like 5 months and I started playing it on release but got sidetracked with some other games, so I'm just now circling back to it to do a playthrough. So anyhow, wanted to cover something in this video that I noticed, and I wanted to see if anybody else was encountering the same thing. So let me go down here to settings, graphics and camera. And if you've had the game for a while, you're probably already familiar with this menu, but just in case you aren't, here's what you get for your graphics and performance modes. So for graphics mode, you have two options. You have favor performance and favor quality. Naturally, favor quality is going to lean more towards higher resolution gameplay, but at the sacrifice of frames per second, while performance is going to do the opposite. You're going to sacrifice a little bit of resolution in favor of a smoother gameplay. They also have a second mode down here called high frame rate mode. So if you have a panel capable of 120 Hertz or above, you can turn this on and get higher frame rate gameplay. So what I wanted to get into on this video is something I noticed when you go in and toggle these two options here. So let's start with favor performance because that's typically the mode that I like to play these games in. And I'm going to take the LG remote here and I'm going to hit this green button a bunch of times. And the VRR menu is going to pop up. It's in the top left-hand corner. Sorry if it's a little difficult to see with the color scheme here. But anyway, take note that it currently is kind of fluctuating between, say, 77 to 79 frames per second, right? In performance mode with high frame rate mode on. And one more thing, let me go and pull up the optimizer here so you get the full picture. So here's what we got going on. We're fluctuating here, 78, 79 frames per second. I have VRR on. It still shows 4K, whatever. But the thing to take note here is that for this particular mode that I have on, here's the thing to take note of. So for the particular graphic mode that I have here on the PS5, here's what I have. It would be considered favor performance plus HFR plus VRR. Okay, because I mentioned that you could see I have, favor performance is on, high frame rate mode is on, and VRR is on. Now, what do you get with that according to what's out there? You get 1440p and unlocked 60 FPS. Now, that's not the noteworthy thing. This is just to show an example of what I'm going to get into momentarily. So let me go ahead and turn on quality. Now, right away, you might notice that the FPS counter jumped up to 119. Now, I don't know about you, but typically when I play these sort of games and they have a resolution mode and a performance mode, anytime that I turn on the resolution mode, the frames per second drop drastically. You're probably going to get, there's some games where, I can't remember if it was Uncharted or not, maybe the Uncharted one, the PS5 version, where you could get 4K mode, which is awesome, but you were only getting 30 frames per second, which was, in my opinion, unplayable. So I'm willing to sacrifice some of that resolution to get the smoother gameplay. But the thing that kind of threw me off here is, why did this go all the way to 119? Let's pull up that other one again. And it's down in the bottom left now. It's currently holding steady at 118 frames per second. Now, what's confusing to me is, this is what I would expect enabling the performance mode. Notice how the frames per second are now back to that 78, 79. What's going on here? I mean, am I misunderstanding something here? For me, what I'm looking at, this seems to be backwards. Because anytime the display is showing 118 frames per second, that should be some very buttery smooth gameplay when you're actually playing the game. Like when you're walking around the the map or the scenery, you're in a fight scene or whatever, you should be getting like extremely smooth gameplay. However, you don't get that smooth gameplay. Whenever I'm going into the actual game and playing, Whenever I enable favor quality, it actually feels more like I'm getting, 50 frames per second, 45 to 55 frames per second, while the performance mode feels like I'm getting 80 to 100. And that is shown to be the case, considering you see down there in the bottom left, I'm now getting 78, 79 sitting in the menus, and I'll even kind of go in and out of the menus, and I can tell you it feels nice and smooth. But when I go over here and do favor quality, and I kind of scroll around the menu here, I can already tell it feels kind of juddery, choppy, etc. So the question for those of you down in the comments is, have you noticed the same thing? Do you have PS5 God of War Ragnarok with an LG C Series OLED that can be C10, C1, C2, whatever? Are you seeing the same thing I am? Because I want to know in the comments, is the frame counter, down here, is this broken? Okay, or is it the God of War game itself? Is this backwards? Because in my opinion, this seems backwards. My expectation would be whenever I enable favor quality, I expect those frames per second to drop down to, like I said, 40, 50, 60, whatever it is. As a matter of fact, just looking at the notes here, God of War graphics mode, if you have favor quality on, here's how it goes in this same setup, what you're looking at on the screen. Let me pull it back up. Pull up the optimizer again. So I have VR on, I have HFR on, and I have favor quality on. It says that I should be getting 1800 to 2160p for resolution and an unlocked 40 FPS. So that goes back to my earlier thought that whenever if I were to choose favor quality, have HFR on and VRR on, I should be seeing the FPS counter down there around, 50, 52, 48. That's what I should be seeing, not 119. That seems broken to me. But again, let me know if you have this set up, if you're seeing the same thing. I will say, as I'm going to wrap up this video, that in actual gameplay, if I have favor quality on, I guess it would be considered playable, but I gotta be honest with you, it doesn't feel all that great, especially in a fight sequence. So I'm gonna leave my setup just like this, favor performance enabled, HFR on and VRR on, and the 80 or so FPS that I'm getting consistently while in gameplay feels great. I'm willing to sacrifice what little resolution I'm missing. Maybe I'm missing a few more grains in the snow as I'm walking around, or maybe in the tree. I'm totally cool with that. But again, the point of this video was just to point out something I had noticed. Wanted to see if this was either a bug on God of War Ragnarok, or if there's something going on with the FPS counter on the LG C2 itself. So if you're still here, appreciate you watching. If you learned anything or enjoyed the video at all, hit the like button, really helps out the channel. If you're new here, thanks for stopping by and watch the video. I do a lot of videos like this, just kind of talking about game settings, TV settings, things like that. If you're into that sort of content, subscribe to the channel, turn on the bell notifications so you know when I do uploads, and until the next one.